proteins. And then there's the chromatin network. The chromatin network are tangled threads that form chromosomes. As you can see, there's the chromatin network. It looks like cotton, and they will later form chromosomes, but we will talk about that in another video. Now we move over to the mitochondria. There's the picture of a mitochondria there. The mitochondria are cylindrical shaped rods enclosed by a double membrane. They generate chemical energy by releasing the energy that is stored in food molecules and using it to produce ATP. ATP is adenosine triphosphate, which is a special type of energy carrying molecule. Now let's go over the function. They generate chemical energy. So you know that your body needs energy, your cells need energy. So where does this energy comes from? It actually comes from the food that you eat. When you're eating food, you're not eating energy, you're eating food. Something needs to take the energy out of the food, and the mitochondria are responsible for that, because it releases the energy that was stored in food and then produce ATP, so that your energy can now be stored as ATP, because ATP, adenosine triphosphate, is a special type of energy carrying molecule. Now this process of releasing this food is called cellular respiration and has to happen in the presence of oxygen. There's the picture of the mitochondria right there. 1, 2, 3, 4 are the labelings, and we have information on the side. So let's talk about it now. You can see number 1 being the inner and the outer membrane, also called a double membrane. The double membrane encloses the mitochondria and folds into what are called cristae. The cristae are the folds of the double membrane. It explains itself. As you can see, these folds here, all of these are cristae, folds of the double membrane. And then we have the matrix, this blue thing that looks like water over here. It's called a matrix. It is a semi-fluid substance that contains enzymes and ribosomes. And then we move over to ribosomes. So what are ribosomes? What do they do in the mitochondria? So ribosomes produce enzymes, and it is these enzymes that are necessary for the chemical reactions in the mitochondria, and the ribosomes are also the sites of protein synthesis. Well, protein synthesis is simply the formation of proteins from amino acid. So let's go over that information again. We said we had a matrix which contains ribosomes, and we said ribosomes produce enzymes, and they are also the sites for protein synthesis, and we explained protein synthesis as being the formation of proteins from amino acids. Now we move over to the endoplasmic reticulum. The endoplasmic reticulum, or the ER, are 5 membranous networks forming a continuous system of canals. They transport substances from one place to another in the cytoplasm and increase the surface area of the cell. And there are 2 types of endoplasmic reticulum. There's the one with the ribosomes called a rough endoplasmic reticulum, and the one without ribosomes is called a smooth endoplasmic reticulum. They are both responsible for transporting substances from one place to another in the cytoplasm, and they increase the surface area of the cell. Moving over to the Golgi bodies. The Golgi body play a role in transportation like the ERs, but they only transport proteins. Now these proteins are transported around the cytoplasm because they are needed everywhere, so the Golgi body will be transporting them. These proteins are first modified for transportation by enzymes found in cisternae. Imagine the enzymes as being seat belts. Like when you get in the car, you have to put on your seatbelt, right? You are being modified for transportation. Like the proteins, they put on their seatbelts, or in this case, enzymes. These enzymes modify them for transportation, and they are found in what are called cisternae. So what are these cisternae? We can just explain them by saying that cisternae are stacks of hollow, flat membrane sacs. Moving over to the vacuole. You remember when I said that the plant cell has a large vacuole and the animal cell has a much smaller vacuole? There is what a vacuole looks like, and a vacuole is fluid filled and it's covered by a tonoplast. The fluid filled parts are called cell saps. So inside here is what you call cell saps, and right around the vacuole is what you call a tonoplast. The cell saps consist of water and dissolved substances in the form of sugar and mineral salts. So in here you are having sugar and mineral salts. And the tonoplast is a selectively permeable membrane that covers the vacuole. So right around here, the tonoplast is selectively permeable. And there's a reason for this. You keep hearing the word selectively permeable. So why are they selectively permeable? Because inside the vacuole, we only need sugar and mineral salts. We do not need any other substances getting in. We don't need the sugar and mineral salts getting out. Now, the vacuole has two functions. It is responsible for maintaining the cell's shape by exerting an outward pushing force called turgor pressure. So the cell has like a rigid shape. It doesn't break up in shape. We said that the plant cell has a fixed shape and the animal cell has a regular shape. These shapes do not change over time. This is because the vacuole maintains the shape by exerting an outward pushing force called turgor pressure. Now the second responsibility for the vacuole is that it gives the blue or the purple color to flowers and fruits. So the next time you see a blue flower or a purple flower, no, it's all because of this guy called the vacuole. Now we're moving over to 2.2, which is the plant cells. Now we are looking at things that are individual to the plant cell, individual organelles now. These organelles are for the plant cell only. You will never find them in the animal cell. Starting off at the cell wall. The cell wall is a rigid non-living layer found outside and it surrounds the cell. As I did say earlier on, the cell wall is non-living. The cell wall has three layers. It has the primary cell wall on the outside, a middle lamella on the middle obviously, and the secondary cell wall found on the inside. The cell wall covers and protects all of the living components of the plant cell. The plant cell does have a cell membrane and it also has a cell wall. So it's double protection. The cell membrane protects it, the cell wall protects it. It also gives the plant cell its fixed and rigid shape. As we said, the cell wall is rigid. We also said that the plant cell has a fixed shape. So now we are hearing that the cell wall is what gives the plant its fixed and rigid shape. Now we go over to plastids. Remember I said plants have plastids and animals do not have plastids. So what are plastids? Basically we are having three types of plastids: leucoplast, chromoplast, and chloroplast. They are called plastid because of this word, plast. They all end with plast. Then we call them plastids. So starting off with the leucoplast are specialized to store food as starch or proteins. The chromoplast gives the yellow, orange, or red color to flower and fruits, and the chloroplast gives the color green to the leaves and is responsible for photosynthesis. Remember I said the vacuole gives the blue and purple color. Now we are hearing that the chromoplast gives the yellow, orange, and red, and the chloroplast gives the green. So different things are responsible for the colors of our plants out there. As you can see, the leucoplast, you see it gives this color. The chromoplast gives this color, and the chloroplast gives this color right around it. The chloroplast also has a second function because it is responsible for photosynthesis. This is due to its ability to absorb radiant energy. So when the sun strikes the leaves, the sun can then enter into the leaves and into the chloroplast where it is absorbed. Now, photosynthesis is a process whereby plants manufacture their own food. Let's look at the chloroplast in individual detail as it's more special from the other plastids. So we have the labelings 1, 2, 3. They are both number 3, and then we have number 4. They're also both number 1. So number 1, we have the inner and the outer membrane, also called a double membrane. The double membrane encloses the chloroplast. By now you already know what double membranes do. And then number 2, we have the stoma. They are calling it an aqueous fluid. You can also call it a fluid matrix. Its responsibility is that it fills the chloroplast. So the chloroplast is filled up with this stoma, which is a fluid matrix or an aqueous fluid. And then 3 and 4 are what we find inside. Number 3, we have the thylakoid and lamella. They are discs or coin-shaped membrane. You see all of these, they look like stacked coins. Well, they are called thylakoids, and the longer ones are called lamella. And the granum are the small stacks of thylakoids and lamella. So once they're all stacked up like this, we now call them the granum. It's a collective name for both of them. Thank you very much. I will be seeing you on the next video when we look at chromosomes as I promised.